Hi, everyone. Welcome to the business webinar program presented by Bank of America. Today's session with the Tory Burch Foundation is called Your Time, Your Way. And we are going to learn so much: how to identify your zone of genius and how to work in that zone of genius as often as possible. Wouldn't that be amazing? How to look at your daily tasks in terms of the opportunity cost of your time, and the tools to take control of your life and your calendar. I know I'm very excited about today, and I hope you all are too. I'm Molly Heffernan, Vice President of Marketing for the Tory Burch Foundation, and I am beyond honored to be here with Garima Shah, serial entrepreneur, president and co-founder of Genie. So an entrepreneur who just gets it, with over 18 years of experience driving growth, scaling businesses, and reshaping the payments landscape. She's held senior leadership positions at Century Payments, eMerchant Pay, where she launched the European firm into the US market. I mean, just incredible, everything that you have done. And a major shout out that Genie is on the Inc. 5000 list as of this week. So congratulations.
Thank you.
We are so happy to have you here. And I'm going to turn it over to you in a second. But just a quick note for everybody, we are going to have plenty of time for Q&A today. So ask your questions in the Q&A box and keep all of the good energy, the community building right there in the chat. And today's session will be recorded and a replay link will hit all of your inboxes. So I think with that, Garima, I'd love to turn it over to you, and hopefully you'll change all of our lives today.
Well, thank you so much, Molly. I appreciate that introduction, and what a fabulous community. Just looking at all of the chats and where everybody's from, just a fabulous community. I'm so excited to be a part of it and start working with the Tory Burch Foundation. So I really am appreciating you having me today. Today I'm going to talk about something that I am super, super, super passionate about, and that is managing your time. I don't know if anybody else ever feels like this, but sometimes it just feels like, oh my God, like if I could just invent a few hours, if I could just go from a 24-hour day to even a 26 or a 30-hour day, how much better would life be and how much more could I get done? And it's really frustrating that we don't have that control. It's also frustrating that we don't have time travel. I mean, come on, someone figure that out already, right? But it's so hard to figure out what to do with your time. And I know I get asked this question a lot. So a little bit about me. My name is Garima Shah, as Molly said. I am the president and co-founder of Genie. But on top of that, I also have two girls. I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old daughter. I have my own nonprofit. I'm on the board of a few organizations, and I am on a dance team. I love to do a lot of Pilates. I work out a lot, and I have been married to my high school sweetheart for the past 20 years. And I often get the question, well, oh my God, like, how do you do these things? How do you do it all? And I would say the number one answer is I don't. I am fanatical about time management. I am crazy about how I spend every moment of my day. And that is what allows me to do the things that I really want to do in the ways that I want to do them. And more than anything, to truly just enjoy my life and make the most of it. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. It is really weird to just talk into a screen. So I hope that you guys will all be interactive with me. I hope that you'll use the chat to answer questions and give me things like emojis or whatever. I will be asking you a lot of questions. I will be asking you to interact with me so I can get to know y'all as well. And I'm located here in Orlando, Florida. So it's again, nice to meet you. But with that, I'm going to get started. So I have a question for all of you. What did you do accomplish? Someone tell me what you did yesterday. If you could say one thing that you did yesterday, what did you do yesterday? What did you accomplish yesterday? Anything. Anything. Okay, you ate. Someone got to inbox 0. I see people from Orlando. You went to, so many things. You wrote an entire chapter of your book. You got groceries. Amazing. Amazing. I'll tell you what I did yesterday. If I had to say my top things, I worked out twice. I had about 6 hours of meetings. I interviewed a potential candidate for an executive level position. I went to a long dinner. I got my kids ready for back to school, and I meal prepped for today. And so that's what I did yesterday. Now I'm going to ask the next question. Name just one thing that you feel really good about that you accomplished last week. Just one thing. One thing that you accomplished last week that you feel really, really good about. Can you think of something last week? You did your thesis. Wow. Some of you guys are, oh my God, you guys are overachievers. It's amazing. I love this. Some of you guys, like, you PR'd, you wrote a grant, you volunteer worked, you wrote a book, you did amazing things. You went live on TikTok. You did amazing, amazing things. So as you think about this, this is something we should always be thinking about. When you wake up in the morning, what did I do yesterday? What did I accomplish? What's the one thing that I could kind of peg that said, I accomplished this yesterday? What did I accomplish last week? What did I accomplish last month? And if you look at last year and you had to just choose one thing, what is something that you accomplished last year that you're proud of, right? Something that you actually did. And when I say, the reason I say the word accomplished is that you have to feel good about it. Something you actually did and you accomplished it. You got beyond that, right? This is super important because that's what we need to think about every morning when we wake up. What did I accomplish? What did I get done? But the downside of that is, many of you know, what did you wish you did? Was there anything that you didn't do? Let's just talk about yesterday. What did you not get done yesterday that you wish you did? I'll give you one. I was supposed to update one of our AI things that we were talking about in a meeting today. I was supposed to update questions for that. And we had this meeting this morning at 10 a.m. and I did not do that. It was really important and I didn't get it done. Was there anything else? So some people didn't work out, they didn't clean their house, they didn't code, they didn't finish their dashboard, didn't apply for their, right? These are things that you didn't get done yesterday, just yesterday, right? Didn't do an ARM, didn't update my website, didn't get CRM. I didn't get to inbox 0 yesterday. I probably didn't respond to a few people yesterday. There's a lot of things that I didn't do yesterday. I wish I did. I truly, really wish I did. It goes back to the whole idea of I wish I could just invent hours because I really, really, really wish I could have done it. And had I done it, I feel like I'd be much better off, but I just didn't get to it. Why didn't it happen? So when we talk about why it didn't happen, there's going to be a million excuses. And it'll be like, oh, this came up. I was busy. I did all these things. So there's one word. We're going to start. The first piece of homework that everyone has is you are going to eliminate the word busy from your vocabulary. You're no longer allowed to say that you didn't get something done because you were too busy. That is a total cop-out. So we are going to get rid of that word. Everybody is not allowed to say it anymore because the real reason it didn't happen, show you a couple things. This kind of sucks. For those of you who maybe don't commute, maybe this doesn't apply to you, but for the average person spends about 110 hours per year commuting to work, 275 hours per year running errands, 450 hours per year eating and drinking, and a whopping 1,011 hours per year. And I'm going to take that watching television and I'm going to include doom scrolling to that because I know that I'm a total victim of doom scrolling. These are just things that we just all inherently do. And like I said, I know that we do it too. Sometimes you look up and you're like, how did I just spend 20 minutes on Instagram? Like, what just happened? Where was that time suck? How did I get so involved in watching these awesome YouTube dance videos, right? Like, what was I doing? And it's so hard when you look at these things and you say, well, if I've only got 24 hours in a day and I've got to sleep, like at some point you got to sleep, you have to eat, you have to spend time with your family, your friends, you have to do all of these things, you have to fill all these cups, you got to work. So how do you get that time back and start figuring out that question of what do you wish that you accomplished? How do you answer that question? How do you say it without saying I was too busy? Because in reality, when I say I'm too busy, if I spent 25 minutes doom scrolling yesterday and I didn't call you back, it's not that I didn't call you back because I was too busy. I didn't call you back because I'd rather spend 25 minutes Instagram doom scrolling than calling you back. And that's a terrible thing to say, and I'm not saying that that's what you should say to your friends, family, coworkers, board members when they call you, but it is absolutely the reality. The reality is that we prioritize our time. We are not victims of our time. We prioritize our time based on what we actually want to do. And understanding how we spend it and how we monetize that time, in my opinion, is the key to success. Figuring out how you use every moment to its most efficient standard is so, so, so important, because when we don't do that, we are absolutely dipping into that well. You've only got X number of years. You've only got X number of minutes. You've only got X number of seconds. And if you keep dipping that well and taking out of that well, it doesn't get replenished. It's not like a water well. It's not like your stomach. It doesn't get replenished. Those things are dwindling. They're going away. So what can you do to make this better? So I'm going to share with you tips and tricks that I use to make this better. I love this quote because I truly believe that time is currency. Every minute, every second is money. It is money. And the worst thing about time, unlike money, you cannot make it back. You can't say, oh, well, I'm going to make more time. You can make more money. You cannot make more time. Now, you can invest your time. You can spend your time in the right way. But the key here is to prioritize what's on your schedule, not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So I'll give you guys a little story. I live and die by my calendar. 100%, I live and die by my calendar. And I've got an amazing EA who puts everything on my calendar. And I sometimes don't notice I'm going from meeting to meeting to meeting. And sometimes I end up on a meeting or I end up driving someplace for an errand or for something else. Why am I doing this? Because it's on my schedule. So I just end up prioritizing what's on my schedule. Oh, do this. Oh, do this. Whoop, do that. And then at the end of it, I'm like, wait, was that even important? Did that have anything to do? Did that help me get closer to my goal? And so understanding what those priorities are and scheduling those priorities, and that's what we're going to spend a lot of time talking about, is how to schedule those specific priorities to really change how we handle time management, how do we handle just time as currency. So this is so my first homework was, anybody tell me, what was your first piece of homework? Anybody tell me on the chat, what was your first piece of homework? Come on, guys. I already told you. What was it? Take busy out. Stop saying I'm busy. All right. That's your first piece of homework. If you are on the call, you're not allowed to say I am busy, because you're not. You're not busy. No one's busy. We're all busy, actually. The person who is sitting at home and they have to, my 13-year-old who doesn't have school today, but her first day of school is tomorrow, who had to clean her room and had to get a haircut and had to pack her backpack. For her, she's really busy. If I gave any of you that calendar, you'd be like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is all I have to do today, right? Like, this is all I have to do. That's amazing. I don't have to cook. I don't have to clean. I don't have to go to work. I don't have to, this is what I get to do today. And we would be super excited about it. But to her, she's really busy. And so, yes, I agree, Andrea. Give me her calendar. I want that calendar too. We all want that, right? We want that 13-year-old life of, dude, I just get to chill. But in her mind, especially this, going through puberty, she's busy and she's worried about it. So when we start saying that we're busy, my biggest issue with saying that you're busy is that you are inherently discounting someone else's busyness. You are basically saying that I am busier than you, which is totally relative. We all get done whatever our capacity is. We all get done the things that we prioritize. But it's not fair if I tell you I'm busy, because then I'm saying, oh, but I was busier than you. I didn't get to this because I was too busy. No, dude, I didn't get to it because I didn't prioritize it. And that is the harsh reality. So the very first thing you're going to do after you remove I'm busy is you're going to make yourself a pie chart. So assume that you have 100% is 24 hours in a day. 100% of the pie chart is it 24 hours in a day. And then you can do this by week if you want to. Some people do it by week. It's easier, however you like to do that. So let's talk about by week. So it's 24 hours a day. And then if we say a week is 7 days, right? We always can do quick math. How many hours is that? How many hours is that? 7 days, 24 hours a day. How many hours do you have in a week? Anybody? I know the answer, but I'm asking y'all. What was it? Come on, guys. 168. Catherine Donovan, you are absolutely accurate. It's 168 hours that you have in a week. So let's talk about the non-negotiables. You kind of have to sleep. And let's say that you are, I'll tell you, for me, I don't sleep much during the weekdays, which is terrible, I know. I hope that my trainer is not on this call and telling me how important sleep is. But during the weekdays, I don't sleep that much. So I sleep like 5 hours. But during the weekends, I absolutely make up for it. I sleep a ton. If you let me, I would sleep like 10 hours on a Friday and Saturday night. So let's just add that up. If I say I'm going to sleep 20 hours of the weekend, so 2 nights of 20 hours, and then 5 nights at 5 hours, right? It's 45 hours. You guys get that? So if it's 123, 168, so I have 73% of my pie chart left for the week. 73%. So that means I'm spending over 27, almost 27% of my life sleeping, right? 27% of my life is spent sleeping. For some of you, it's more. For some of you, it's less. However you want to handle that. That is a bucket. So if I'm building this pie chart, I'm going to put one bucket for the percentage of time that is taken just by sleep. Now I need to think about everything else. How many hours a week do you spend working? Not do you spend, how many hours a week do you want to spend working? What percentage of your time do you think should go to work? For some of you, maybe it's 10%, 20%, 40%, 50%. How many hours a day or a week is that? If you're a founder and you're working 10 hours a day at a minimum, and you're working 5 days a week, well, that's 50 hours gone. So in my example, I had 124 left, but let's say 50 divided by 168. That's 30% of my time, right? 30% of my time is now spent at work. So I'm already down to 55% of my time is gone. 7% of my time is gone. I spent 30% of my time at work and 27% of my time sleeping. That's not a lot of time left. So now what do I want to do? Well, I just told you I have 2 kids. So I want to spend time with them. How many hours is like, how many hours should we spend with our kids? Do you want to spend with your kids? How many hours do you want to spend with your husband? How many hours do you want to spend working out? How many hours do you want to spend on any kind of spiritual or mental health? How many hours do you want to spend just relaxing? That's important too. Relaxing is important. How many hours do you want to spend I need to just chill? How many hours do you want to spend cleaning? How many hours do you want to spend hanging out? There's all of these different buckets that you can have. And figuring out what percentage you want to allocate to them is going to be extremely important. Just understanding, and again, these buckets can change. So you may say that over the next 2 weeks, I want to spend 40% of my time, because some of you said I'm just starting up something, and that's hard. So you might need more time. So maybe you're going to spend 40, 50% of your time doing that for 2 weeks. But then after that, hey, I really need some time with my family. I need just to go to 20 to 30% of my time to family time. However you want this pie graph to work, understand that you only have 24 hours and 7 days. So understanding where you want that pie graph to be and going down to even 1%, 2%, that's a lot, right? 1% of 168, it's not a small number. It's almost 2 hours, 1.68 hours. Do you want to spend 1.6 hours? Do you want to give yourself that to doom scroll? Yeah, cool, do it. It's your time. I love to read. So for me, it's how much time do I get to spend reading? What percentage of my time do I want to allocate to reading? What percentage of my time do I want to spend doing things like this? I love stuff like this. How much time do I want to spend doing that? And sometimes it's 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%, 15%. But you have to make this pie chart and assign percentages to every category and ensure that those around you are also on the same page. So ensuring that whether it's work, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, that they're on the same page with you, that that's the amount of time that you've allocated to this, and everybody agrees that, yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? All right. That's the first thing. After not saying you're busy, the next is you're going to create your pie chart. This one's really, really, really hard. I probably do this, if I'm being honest, once every 2 to 3 years. Has anybody on here ever kept a food journal? Anybody ever kept a food journal? Yeah, some of you have kept a food journal, right? And when you keep a food journal, what happens? Anybody, has anybody seen something weird that happens when you keep a food journal? What's the weirdest thing that happened? Shock to the calories, notice unexpected patterns. Sometimes you end up eating way, way less because you're like, oh my God, I'm actually tracking it, right? Things that are not tracked and are not measured will never be accurate. It's the way that it is. If you do not track something, you have no idea what's actually happening. And someone said you become more intentional about what you're eating when you keep a food diary. Now, I definitely don't keep food diary. I tried to keep food diary. I did it for almost 6 months, and I was using the MyFitnessPal app. I was tracking my macros. I was being really good about it. And I realized the amount of time that I was spending food tracking was actually probably cutting into everything else. But it really helped me. In those months I did it, it really helped me understand, well, hey, I just tend to want chocolate every day at 3 o'clock. But really, really helpful in that time. It really helped me see that. The same thing is true for a time audit. I do this in Excel. There's a million ways you can do this. There's AIs that help you do this now. But I recommend doing this for about a week. I'm not asking you to do it forever, but trying to do it for a week of just what do you do every 15 minutes. Someone once told me that a great way to do this is set an alarm on your phone for every 15 minutes and just like jot down on a post-it or something, just what you did. It's shocking. It is shocking. Number one, you become more intentional about your time. Number two, you realize either how long or how short 15 minutes is. Because 15 minutes, sometimes you're like, oh, the amount of things I can get done in 15 minutes, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And then 15 minutes go past and your alarm goes off twice. You're like, crap, that actually took me 45 minutes. That took me 30 minutes. So this is kind of how I have started with figuring out what that time audit looks like. What time do you wake up? How long does it take for you to do whatever? I mean, you could write, I need to go to the bathroom. I need to take a shower, whatever. And that's, someone asked about time auditing and time blocking. We're going to get into that. But the idea of time journaling or time auditing, the idea here is to just get a baseline, to just start with something that says, this is how I spend my time over the course of a week. Someone said, yeah, take a walk break from work. Yeah, that's a great idea. Like, take a break for every 15 minutes. There's so many things you can be doing in that time, but just you have to measure it. It just needs to be measured. However you want to spend it, that is up to you, but you need to measure it. Do it for 1 week and you will be shocked. You will also start looking at patterns and you'll start seeing, like, I am not a night person. If you ask me to stay up really late and do a bunch of things like pack a suitcase or work on a presentation, I'm not that person. I can do it at 4 a.m. I cannot do it at 10. My brain shuts off. Like, I turn to mush. I can't do it. So starting to figure out, hey, I just noticed that in these 8 15-minute segments, in these 2 hours, I was the most productive. So highlight that. Go through a week, time journal. Don't change anything, just time journal. And then go through and say, okay, well, these are the times I'm most productive. Maybe it's 1 time, maybe it's 2 times, maybe it's 3 times a day. This is when I'm most productive. Or maybe it's one big chunk of time for those that are super, super, super good at being focused. Maybe it's 1 time, but how do you figure that out? So just highlight what the productive times are And then just start looking for things that are time wasting patterns. So are there things that you're kind of doing daily that are, kind of time wasters? Like, I don't really need to do that. It took me 6 minutes to do this every single day. Or every single 15-minute segment, every hour. I don't really need to do that, right? So those are the kinds of things you want to look at. So you're going to create your pie chart and you're going to leave that in one spot. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to time audit. So your pie chart is created. You're not touching, you're not actually making any changes. You're just thinking about it. And then you're going to do your time audit and you're going to make your highlights and all that. You're going to do this for 1 week. The next thing you're going to do, this one is my favorite. You're going to use the Eisenhower matrix. So the Eisenhower matrix takes all of your tasks and it figures out who and what needs to do it. So you have now a week's worth of time tracking. You have what you really wanted to do. You have your pie chart of what you wanted to do. And now you have a list of tasks, and I can tell you they probably don't match. I don't know anyone. My pie chart is my Pauhana. It's what I would love to be at. My pie chart is my super exciting. I wish every day that I could hit these percentages and everything. For me, it just doesn't happen. I get close, and sometimes some days are better than others, but that's the reality. But I have now this list of tasks, all these things I've done in a day, and now I can put in these boxes. If it is important and urgent and it requires me to do it, I need to do it. Not just do I need to do it, it should have a deadline. This needs to be done by this specific time. So I needed to submit my presentation for the Tory Burch Foundation to be on this conversation today with you. That was due by a specific date at a specific time. It was urgent because I was on vacation. I needed to submit it at a specific time. So it was urgent and it was important. So that was a due. Another thing is not urgent, but important. So I've got a meeting that's coming up in October. It's not urgent, but it's important. I still have to be prepared for that. So now I'm going to take that and I'm going to schedule it over time to say, okay, well, if I spend 1 hour a week on that, think about like setting for a test. If I spend 1 hour a week doing this, then I can get it done. So I'm going to schedule time to get to my long-term goal. The next one is it's urgent, but it's not important. So I'll give you an example of this, and this may be a little controversial. I love, love, love my kids. But there are things sometimes where I have to feel like an Uber driver, right? And whether it's myself or my husband, we're kind of maybe being like an Uber driver. And it's urgent because they have to be picked up from a specific place and get someplace else. But it doesn't necessarily require me doing it. So can I delegate that to someone? Can I delegate that drive? Can I carpool? Can I hire someone? Can I do something to delegate that time away so I can get that back? So it needs to get done. It is urgent. Someone absolutely needs to pick them up and take them to their practice, but it doesn't have to be me. So it's urgent, but not necessarily the most important. When I say important, I want to be very clear. This is not important in life. This is important for me specifically to do. Like, does it require my zone of genius? Does it require me doing it? That's what I mean by important. Or important and not important doesn't mean, oh, is this important in life to do? So I want to be very, very clear about that. It is very important to pick up my kids, but it doesn't necessarily require me to do it. So I can delegate that in many cases. Another one is your last bucket is it's not urgent and not important. And this bucket sucks. We end up having things that we look at our task sheet and like, I know I do. So I'm like, why did I even spend any time on that? Or so as I'm looking at my tasks, I'm like, I should have deleted it. And once I notice that I'm doing some of those things, as I delete them, then the following week or the week after, I won't do it. So does anybody have like something that they would classify as any of these buckets? Anybody have an idea of something that they would classify in one of these buckets? Let's see. Anybody? Someone asked about childcare. So childcare is, childcare, if you have someone else doing childcare, you can delegate it. If it's really important to you, if you feel like you want your time with that kids, then that's probably a do. Doom scrolling time, right? You can delete it. Urgent, not important. And elaborate cooking daily. It's urgent. Your family has to get fed. You have to get fed, but maybe not important that you do it. delegate grocery shopping or use Instacart, right? That's another one someone said, like, yeah, grocery shopping probably needs to happen, but it's urgent. But could someone else do it? Or could you use Instacart? Or could you make your life a little bit easier? Doing the blogs for my business, where does that fit for you? Kendria, where does doing blogs for your business fit? Or opening mail and keeping it on a pile instead of just tossing it right away in junk mail. Yes, these are all great ideas, right? What are things that you can do, schedule, delegate, and delete when you look at your day? I have gotten so accustomed to doing this that I look at these colors. When I'm looking at my tasks, I'm looking at these colors and I'm saying, okay, I need to do that. I don't need to do that. Someone else can do this. I need to schedule this. I need this many days to do that. I need to delete this. I don't really, this has nothing to do with it. Like, I am literally looking at every task through that lens. Does it require me? Can someone else do it? And is it actually that important? And how soon does it need to be done? And can I put a deadline on it? If I can answer those questions, I know exactly where it fits within this matrix. So that's a step 3. Moving on. Now comes the fun part. We're going to take our zone of genius and we're going to superimpose it. So there are things you like to do. And there's things that you like to do that you're good at and you're not good at. There's things that you don't like to do that you are good at. And you're also things that you don't like to do that you're not good at. If you don't like to do it and you're not good at it, stop doing it, right? Like, I'll give you an example. I run a business and I am not the person who should be reviewing every agreement. Like, I am not that. I am not that detail oriented. That is not, I can create the business strategy. I can negotiate it. I am not the person who should read every like part of the contract. And so I don't like it and I'm not good at it. My partner is amazing at it. So guess what? That goes to him. And when it comes to me, it is so empowering. It is so empowering to say, I suck at that. I'm not good at that. I don't want to do it. I don't like it and I'm not good at it. So I don't want to do it. And just knowing that about yourself starts helping you build this zone of genius. So when you take your skill set and you look at the things that you like to do and are good at or not good at, don't like to do, and why are you doing them? If you don't like to do and you're not good at them, figure out how to get that away from you. Maybe it doesn't have to be done anyway. But how do you actually handle that? What are the things that you like to do and you're good at? I can guarantee you those are probably your zones of genius. What the things that you love, the things that make you super excited, the things that get you pumped, the things that you wake up thinking about, right? For me, I love solving big, hairy, crazy problems. Like, I love puzzles and I love solving really complicated problems that stress people out. Like, that to me is like my zen. I love it. I like to do it and I'm really, really good at it. That's what I'm passionate about. And that is my zone of genius. What's not my zone of genius? All of the itty bitty tasks that may come out of a project plan. That is not my zone of genius. And I have to know that. I have to be clear with myself that I am really good at this part and I'm not good at that part, and it's totally okay. So you're going to do a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of yourself. You're going to look at your skills of what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Where are there opportunities? Now, strengths and weaknesses are internal to you. Opportunities and threats are external. So opportunities could be, I could learn something new. I could take a new course. I could use AI, right? That could be an opportunity. Threat could be anything that's external that you have no control over. Maybe it's economic things. Maybe it's maybe it's some regulation. There's a lot of things that are not in your control that could be a threat to some of the things that you're good at. So you're going to create a SWOT analysis. When you create your SWOT analysis, it'll be very, very clear what your zone of genius is so that you can look at these tasks and say, I like to do it, I'm good at it. I don't like to do it, I'm not good at it, or wherever that fits. But that's really how you're going to figure out what to do next. Someone asked a question about time blocking versus time boxing. These are two very, very different things. So time blocking means I'm going to set aside an amount of time for a specific activity. So I'm going to put 2 hours a day for working out. I'm going to set this time aside for this activity. And I'm going to ensure that like I will work from 8 to 10 at this, or I'll work from 5 to 7. I will do that. I start at this time, I end at this time, and when it's done, it's done. Whether or not I am complete. That's what time blocking is. Time boxing is different. Time boxing means I need to complete something by this deadline, and presentation is a perfect example. You can spend hours doing a presentation. You can spend hours. But if I say I'm going to spend no longer than this amount of time on this is my time box. I'm giving myself a box, and I must complete it by this time. Again, very, very different things. I hope that that makes sense. But one is time blocking. The other is when you think about, like, if you think about like dev or something like that, you've got a level of effort. How much time will this actually take? So it will take me, and be honest with yourself, it's going to take me 6 hours to create content for next week. And that 6 hours is how long it's going to take. That is my time box. I'm not going to spend any longer, because you know what? Perfection is the enemy of good. And we often do things over and over and over again and iterate and take forever because we just have, according to us, infinite number of time, which we don't. But we sometimes, when we're in the zone, we get so excited about things that we allow ourselves to go over the amount of time that we thought it would take us. But if you put a time box around something and say, I will not allow myself to spend more than X amount of time on this, then do it. Just do it. And you have to complete it. And whatever stage it's at that moment, it is done. It's done. That's where you are. Okay. So time blocking is in your calendar, would say things like exercise, eat, sleep, work. That's your time blocks. And then time box is understanding the level of effort or the amount of time where you will cut yourself off. Have you ever seen like a kindergartner with a crayon? And they just keep coloring, and they just keep coloring, and they just keep coloring, and they just keep coloring until you take that sheet of paper away. They just keep coloring, and it actually looked really good 10 minutes ago, but 10 minutes later it kind of looks like a black sheet because they just kept coloring all over it. That's the difference between time blocking and time boxing. All right. Next, understand that you own your own time. You are not a victim of your time. Not, oh, poor me, I'm busy, or oh, poor me. It is so exciting and amazing that we get to decide what we are doing with our time. The issue is not lack of time. The issue is lack of direction. We all have the same number of hours in a day. How come it seems like, to me, I look at some of these people, I'm like, oh my God, you did what today? It's amazing. It's amazing. We all have the same 24 hours though. So it's how are you going to handle the lack of direction, lack of prioritization? So you're going to define the most strategic thing that you are going to do that day. The most strategic thing, whatever that is, whether you're prioritizing based on revenue, whether you're prioritizing based on building something, whether you're prioritizing based on mental health, physical health, whatever you're prioritizing, that is the most important thing. One, just one, that you're going to prioritize for the day, and you're going to own that. And no matter what, you're going to get that done. And then you're going to take all of the things that we just worked on, and you're going to anchor all of the rest of your actions to it. So we are almost at time for Q&A, but I'm just going to go through a quick overview. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to stop saying we're busy, because we're not too busy. We just lack of priority. We're going to design our ideal pie chart. We're going to ensure that the people in our life are on the same page with what that pie chart is. And we're going to be honest with ourselves of what percentage of our week or our day do we want to be spending in these various buckets. And again, this is yours. My pie chart is not going to look like yours, and it's not going to look like the next person. This is yours. You own it. You get to do whatever you want here, and this is your ideal. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. It's okay to say, I don't want to spend more than 10% of my time doing X, Y, or Z. Forget what you think you're supposed to do. What do you actually want to do? What does that ideal pie chart look like? After you've done that, you're going to put it away. Then you're going to actually audit your time in a week. You're going to look at your time journal for a week in 15-minute intervals. You're going to take a look at those tasks, and you're going to put the Eisenhower matrix to it to figure out what you are going to do, what you're going to delegate, what you're going to schedule. You're going to do that with all tasks. You're going to superimpose the tasks that are left in the do zone and the schedule zone, and you're going to look at those with your zone of genius. Should I be the person doing it? Am I the best person to do this? Would my company change? Would my life change dramatically if I hired someone or if I worked with someone who was better than me? If I asked for advice from someone better than me to do these things, is there someone who is more subject matter expert on this specific thing than I am? And would that shorten my time? So I'm going to put my zone of genius on it, because I'm going to spend time where my brain and my specific zone of genius is the most important. Then I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to time block the important things that I said I needed in my pie chart: working out, spending time with your kids, driving, all of that. I'm going to time block. And then I'm going to time box anything that has a deadline that I am really want to get done. And I'm not going to allow myself to go over that time box. And then I'm going to think on a day-to-day basis, what is the most strategic thing that I can get done? And I'm going to own it, and I'm going to move everything else around that. So that's my 6-step framework. That's what I've got for y'all today. I know that there's probably a bunch of questions and thoughts, but I'd love to answer them. And I really appreciate all of you guys joining today.
We are so grateful that you have been here and have shared the things that have worked so well for you and all of these helpful tools and frameworks. Lots of questions, and I think I'd love to start with one about, you are a founder. Many of the people on here are founders. Have you ever taken these frameworks that can be really personal to managing your time and tried to implement or bring them into the team to help people understand their own productivity, or specifically look at their pie chart for time used in the business? And I guess if you have any tips for sort of infusing that into the team culture to rise all boats.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So I absolutely have done this very specific time management presentation to my own team. And I have asked, there are some members on the team who get more excited about this and definitely need the help, probably like I do. And so I will ask them, hey, come back to me in a week or in 2 weeks and show me your time journal. And hey, let's work through this together, because it's actually not that easy. Like, all of this stuff sounds not too hard, but it's not super easy to do your own SWOT analysis. Sometimes you need someone else to help you, would be like, is that really your strength? Is that really your weakness? I know you. I mean, I'll tell you, I've even asked my husband for help on this. Like, hey, you know me, you're my best friend. Hey, you know me. What do you think I'm good at? Should I be doing this?
Yep. It's always helpful to have an outside pulse check. Someone dropped a great follow-up question here in the Q&A, that when you've done that time audit and you have these designated items that you want to take or delegate or bring to a partner or colleague, how do you suggest even broaching that conversation for that delegating process?
You're saying a team member needs to delegate something, just to make sure I understand?
Yeah, a team member, or if let's do team member, and then we can talk about delegating to a family member, because I'd imagine slight nuance to each of those.
I think delegating to a team member is usually pretty easy, because it comes back to, and I think a lot of this has to be around defining roles in an organization. And I think that's hard in a small company, because everybody wears all hats. And,
Yeah.
today we're at 70 people, but 2 years ago we were at 20, and 2 years before that we were at 3. And so everybody wears all hats, and you're kind of, crossing lanes, and how do you really delegate? And, oh, I'm too busy too. And that becomes hard.
Yeah.
But I think that with your team members, it's again that raw authenticity of just, this is what I'm good at, and you are much better at this than I am, or you have the capacity that I do not in this specific vein. So I need your help here. So I think that delegating to team members is easier. I think delegating to family members, again, it comes down to being able to have those open conversations of, this is my lane, this is where I'm going to stay, and this is your lane. And so let's figure out, if I'm doing something that's in your lane, I should probably delegate it in the other way around. And it has to be that give and take.
Right. Absolutely. Well, another question that came in from folks is, in looking at running the business, there are often these things that you want to plan for that big strategy component, or the the big picture thinking that you need to do. And so how do you balance maybe planning that into the pie chart versus the time blocking and knowing where you put that, making space for building your vision?
So, we're an EOS company and they always talk about spending time on your business instead of in your business.
Uh-huh.
And I
We love
think
that
that,
phrase.
yeah. And so when we start thinking about on your business, we as a company and me myself are very intentional about what is that on your business time. And it is actually blocked for in this meeting. So we have a very specific meeting once a week where we brainstorm together. And in that meeting, we say, okay, at the beginning of the meeting, you're all fired. You are all consultants of the company. And now if you were acting as a consultant, what are the things that you would tell this business? How would you change your answer? Forget the seat that you sit in, but what would you do in your answer? And also, one of the things I've started doing is actually setting up brainstorming blocks in the calendar where I will say, okay, I know that if I spend 2 or 3 hours with this team member, with my head of sales, I know if the two of us have nothing to talk about, we just spend 3 hours in a room together, we're going to come up with something awesome. So we're just going to put that in the calendar that we're going to spend 3 hours brainstorming. And we might not come up with a ton of great ideas, but I guarantee you we'll probably figure something out during that time.
Yeah.
And so giving yourself space, and I think that that needs to be in the pie chart. A lot of times people just put in the pie chart, they put work, and that's fine, at least as a starter to put work. But I think within that, it should have delegations of this is how much time I'm going to spend managing my team. This is how much time I'm going to spend doing all of the administrative work that I have to do to run a company. This is how much time I'm going to spend brainstorming and working on the vision. And depending on what seat you are sitting in your organization, and I know there's a lot of founders here, but even as a founder, there are different seats you can be sitting in and making sure that you're prioritizing those.
Amazing. Well, you brought up all the little tasks, and folks did have questions on this. So, when it's the small, repetitive, quick response, I got my phone open, everyone's pinging. If I just fire it off, it's done. How do you create boundaries? Do you create boundaries
Yeah.
around that? How do you allocate around that? Because that's the stuff that I'd imagine, just like logging the food, is what actually sneaks up fastest, is just thinking it'll be fast if I'm just super responsive.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I will say that I say this to a lot of my staff members on a day on no one's going to die in 2 hours. No, like literally, if I don't respond to an email for 2 hours, it will be okay. It'll be okay. And look, I think we should all have the safe words and the codes of this is an emergency, I need you. Those are usually few and far between, right? Like if you call me twice in a row, I'm gonna pick up. Even if I was on this presentation, if someone called me twice in a row, I will pick up. That is absolutely like a rule of mine because probably there's an emergency. Again, happens very few and far between. The nickeling of all of these things of, oh my God, I've got to get this done. This email just came in. I've got this text. My WhatsApp is blowing up. My calendar looks like this. My my Slack channel. Like there's so much that's coming at you. There's so many inputs. And we all believe that we are the best multitaskers in the entire world. And I believe that many of you are. I believe that. I believe that I am too. But what we don't account for is that it still takes your brain a minute and a half to just switch, to go from, okay, I'm going to respond to this to and that task switching, when you're looking at a 15-minute interval, and if you're spending 3 minutes of that 15-minute interval task switching, that's a lot of
Yeah.
time. That's just a lot of time. So when you are doing things like this, giving yourself the space to say, I'm going to turn my phone off, or I'm just going to turn it over, and I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to respond to any emails for the next 2 hours. And if it's super urgent, call me, right? Like that's again my rule where I'm like, hey, if it's super urgent, call me. Otherwise, I'm not going to be looking at this because I believe, and you know what's really amazing about that I found that is kind of hard? It's hard as a founder. People figure things out. Like when you give 2 hours to respond, sometimes by the time I get to the response, that problem has already gone away. It was already solved. And I just saved myself a bunch of time that I didn't need to spend because someone else solved it, someone else took care of it, and that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. I think such good advice for the things that in fact are urgent emergencies that do require you. How do you recommend fielding or pre-planning into the fact that just disruptions are sort of part of what it means to be a founder? Like, do you
Yeah.
have contingency hours?
Yeah, no, I actually don't have contingency hours, and we had a pretty big issue a couple weeks ago that we were dealing with, and we lost an entire day and a half, and it sucked. And that's what I mean about I can make my most beautiful, most ideal pie chart. I can give everybody tips and tricks on how you can be the most efficient with time. But everybody has a perfect plan until life punches you in the face, and you're gonna get punched in the face. As a founder, you'll get punched in the face lots and lots of times, and that's okay. And I think just knowing that that's going to happen, and that's why I'm really specific about the one strategic item for the day, and and
Yeah.
and, and being intentional that it's one. It's not three, it's not five, it's not 10, but being proud of that too, because there is something to be said about the dopamine response that you get in the morning when you're like, I did it. I said I was going to do this and I did it. And it doesn't have to be anything great. I just did what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
There's something about like they talk about the chemistry, your brain chemistry about winning. And if you can get yourself to win every day by giving yourself one task that you have to complete, and then you
Mm.
actually complete it, your brain starts functioning as a winner, and it absolutely changes your chemistry.
Well, that is why I make my bed every morning.
I love it. I love it.
Um, you were sharing the Eisenhower matrix, and sometimes hindsight is 2020 about something being a delete item. Are there any tools or questions you ask yourself that help you get to the realization that something probably should be sitting in delete far sooner than you used to, or you know,
Yes.
how do you hack that?
I would say you hack it by spending the time doing the first steps of like doing everything, like doing the SWOT analysis, doing that, because once you've done it a few times. So look, the first couple times I did this, it was painful. And it was like, oh man, what should I really be doing? And I started thinking about like, what is my purpose? What is my focus? What is my zone of genius? How do I really make the most of that? How do I monetize that? And as I did that, and I did this, like I said, it was probably 3 iterations of me doing kind of the time tracking and journaling and really putting things in Eisenhower matrix to start realizing, oh, it's the same kind of things that always show up and delete. I'm just get rid of them. And then now when those things come up, I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Like, because I've seen this before. Again, we all think we're special. We all think that our problems are our own. We all think that things don't repeat, but they all do, right? So you just
Right.
need to just know that it's going to come back. Things are scheduled, things happen. And if this is a pattern, I just need to always delete it.
Yeah, makes so much sense. Now, you mentioned, the first few times are going to be hard. How often should we be going back and sort of resetting or reusing these tools to account for changes in life, changes in business, changes in ourselves?
If you've never created a pie chart, a SWOT analysis, or time journaling, if you've never done it, I recommend that someone do it for a year every quarter.
Okay.
And once you've done it every quarter for a year, you'll kind of get through all of kind of the seasons of the year.
Mhm.
And then you can usually go down to once a year or once every 2 years, because now you start training your brain. So, for example, I know that it takes me 15 minutes to shower and get dressed. If I have to wash my hair, it's going to take me two segments. So I think of everything in segments. How many segments do I need in order to accomplish this? So as I'm working throughout the day, I need a segment here, I need 2 segments here, I need 4 segments there. And that's just how I think because I've done it for so long.
Amazing. So tons of people have asked, what are the actual tools that you are using? Like what are you using for your calendar? How are you getting your notifications? Do you have a project management system you use? Like you've shared a lot of knowledge, and now we want all of your
We
hacks.
use, okay, so as a company, we use all the things. I use a ton of different AI tools for a million things. I turn off all notifications on my phone outside of Slack, calendar, and email. Every notification is turned off because otherwise there's thousands. So I turn off every notification that's coming to my phone because otherwise the notifications just keep coming.
Yeah.
We use Linear for project management and kind of to-dos. So every time I think of something, it's going on a linear board and it's kind of getting prioritized. So it's to do, it's new, it's an ice box, it's holding, it's whatever. So we use linear to kind of figure out all the to-dos in the day. I use a lot of pen and paper and post-it notes because I'm kind of old school. And so as I'm doing things through the day, I jot something down. I'm like, okay, let me think about it. And it just helps me remember to do it. I'm a big whiteboard person. So yeah, I do all kinds of things like that.
That's super helpful to know and understand. And I think the one last tool people are wondering about, are there any books that you've maybe sat in or read that have also helped aid in this process for you?
So not specifically this process, but there's a book that makes me think about time in a very different way. It's a fiction book. So I'm not going to give you guys some crazy knowledge here because I enjoy fiction, but it's not a business book, but the book is called What Alice Forgot. And I don't know how many of you have read that. It's by Leanne Moriarty. What Alice Forgot, I'm not giving you a spoiler, I promise, but within the first 5 minutes or 5 pages, she falls off a treadmill and forgets the last 10 years of her life. So it's her 29-year-old brain in a 39-year-old body. And she is questioning and thinking about throughout the book every life choice that was made. Am I proud of myself? So now I think about that. I'm 42, proud. And I think about, would my 52-year-old self be proud of me for the action that I just took? Would they think that I did the right thing with my time? Would I, all of that, what would my 50-year-old, and not only that, what would my 32-year-old self say about me? Would she say, hey, you accomplished what I expected? Hey, you did it, you made it, I'm proud of you? Or would she say, man, you really screwed up here? What? So thinking about that as we think about time is so important, because I think we should always be looking to please ourselves in 10 years. But the book title, someone asked again, it's What Alice Forgot.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think just such a reminder of the power that fiction books can also have in our lives. And you can find inspiration from so many places to fuel our everyday. So I cannot thank you enough for sharing your frameworks, your advice, your guidance, and your honesty with us today about what has helped you so that you can help each one of us. So thank you for sharing your expertise. For everyone